The night was dark and silent. King Vikramaditya walked through the forest. Betal, the ghostly spirit, rested on his shoulders, laughing softly. O king, today I will tell you a story about a Brahmin and his son. King Vikramaditya tightened his grip on his sword and said, Speak, Betal, but remember, I will not speak until the story ends. Betal smiled and said, We shall see that, mighty king. Long ago, in a small village, there lived a wise Brahmin named Vidyut. Vidyut was 50 years old. He was calm and humble. He had a son. His name was Arjun. Arjun was 18 years old with dark hair and bright eyes. Arjun was curious, brave, and intelligent. They lived peacefully, helping villagers with knowledge and guidance. One day, the king of the nearby kingdom announced a competition. The competition promised a reward to anyone who could answer a riddle that no one else could. Vidyut encouraged his son Arjun and said, This is your chance to show your wisdom, Arjun. Arjun smiled and said, Father, I will try my best. Arjun traveled to the royal palace carrying a small satchel with food and scrolls. The palace was grand with golden gates and tall towers. Arjun greeted the guards at the gate politely and was allowed inside the palace. The king, with golden robes and a stern face, sat on his throne. His eyes sparkled with curiosity and authority. Arjun bowed respectfully before the king. The king asked, O young man, are you here to attempt my riddle? Arjun said, Yes, your majesty, I will do my best. The king said, Listen carefully, O young man. There was a merchant with three sons. The eldest son was greedy, the second son was lazy, and the youngest was clever. They each received a sum of gold to invest. The challenge is who used the gold wisely. Arjun thought for a moment and answered, Your Majesty, the youngest son used the gold wisely because he was clever and hardworking. The king nodded and was impressed by the Arjun's answer. But the riddle had a twist. The king continued, Suppose the eldest son gave half of the gold to a friend who spent it foolishly, and the second son lost it all in laziness. The youngest son invested it in a safe trade, but a storm destroyed half of it. Now tell me who used the gold wisely. Arjun's eyes were widened, but he remained calm for a moment, and he said, Your Majesty, wisdom is measured not only by results but by effort and judgment. Therefore, the youngest son still acted wisely despite misfortune. The king leaned back on his throne, smiling slightly. The king then set another test. Young man, bring me a hidden treasure from the forest without harming anyone. Arjun agreed and set out into the forest. The forest was dense with tall trees and shadows dancing in the moonlight. A gentle wind rustled the leaves. Arjun walked carefully. He spotted a hidden chest under a tree. The chest was old, covered in moss, with sparkling jewels inside. Arjun inspected it carefully, ensuring that no traps or danger is there. He lifted the chest and carried it gently back to the palace. The king examined the chest and the jewels. Young man, you have brought the treasure without greed or harm. Your honesty and courage are commendable. Guards standing nearby bowed to Arjun respectfully. The king then asked Arjun about his father. Arjun spoke humbly. My father taught me wisdom, patience, and humility. The king nodded. A noble father raises noble children. Now the king set another test. Now, young man, you must solve a moral dilemma. Suppose a poor man steals to feed his family. Should he be punished? Arjun thought carefully. Your Majesty, stealing is wrong, but the motive matters. If the man steals out of hunger, mercy may be the wisest path. The king smiled, impressed by the Arjun's understanding. The king then asked the riddle that everyone feared. A man gives his gold to a stranger who promises to return double. But the stranger disappears. What should the man do? Arjun, with calm eyes, said he should act wisely and he should report the matter to the king and learn from the mistakes. Cleverness must be paired with honesty. Suddenly, the king's messenger arrived with news. A band of thieves had stolen treasures from neighboring villages. The king asked Arjun to find them using only his wit. Arjun set out carrying a small sword and satchel. The forest was dark, filled with unknown sounds. He followed the clues carefully, avoiding traps. Arjun spotted the thieves hiding behind rocks and planning their next raid. He observed quietly. Using his clever tricks, he distracted the thieves and retrieved the stolen treasures. Arjun returned to the palace. Guards and villagers cheered for him. The king examined the treasures and nodded in approval. You have shown wisdom, courage, and cleverness, the king said. Arjun bowed humbly. The king asked about his rewards. Arjun replied, O king, I seek only your blessings and a chance to serve the kingdom. The king smiled and was pleased by the Arjun's humility. The king then asked a final moral question. If someone helps another but is insulted in return, what should he do? Arjun humbly said, Your Majesty, one should remain kind and not repay insult with insult. True virtue is in patience and generosity of heart. The king was deeply impressed and declared Arjun as the wisest among all the visitors. Villagers cheered, guards bowed, and Arjun felt proud but humble. The king granted him a place as an advisor in the royal court. Arjun's father Vidyut watched proudly from the village. The kingdom prospered under Arjun's clever guidance. Justice and fairness were restored in all matters. People admired Arjun for his courage and wisdom. Even thieves learned to respect the law. Arjun helped the poor, giving them guidance and protection. Vidyut taught villagers alongside his son. The king often consulted Arjun on important decisions. Betal, on Vikram's shoulder, laughed softly and said, O king, now tell me why Arjun is considered as the cleverest. King Vikramaditya smiled and said, O Betal, Arjun was not only clever but also kind and humble. Wisdom without virtue is incomplete. Courage, wisdom, and kindness must always go together. One should be clever but also humble. Helping others is more important than personal gains. Bravery is not just in battle but in decisions and actions also. A father's teachings guide the children to greatness. Justice must always be balanced with mercy. True cleverness combines the intelligence, courage, and virtue. Betal clapped his bony hands. Ha 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 ha. As always, your answer is absolutely true and wise, O King Vikram. Vikramaditya walked silently under the moon. The forest was peaceful. Betal vanished into the night with a laugh. Arjun's story remained a lesson for all, and thus ends the story of the king and the Brahmin's son. Thank you so much for watching. Jai Hind.